Abraham Alexander, welcome to eTown. Man, oh man, you get the whole thing. You can sing and play and write songs, and as I understand it, this is something you came to kind of later. Like you were going to play soccer. You were going to do that thing.
That was it. That was my plan.
Yeah.
They say you make plans and God laughs, and he laughed as I was tripping.
Yeah.
I'm still tripping. It feels like. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because these songs are obviously cathartic for you. This is a way for you to process all this stuff. And as I understand it, you were working in a bank. And so I'm just trying to imagine how you could process that stuff, as a banker. It's harder, right?
It is, but while this particular time as I was being a banker and teller and counting money that I wish I had, in that moment I was very meticulous about listening to that innate voice within each and every single one of us, and also just diving into something creative, which was the instrument. And for me, like you might hear my voice right now, but I didn't know how to speak English, like coming to the States. And so the way for me to connect was playing sports.
Yeah.
And I lost that. And so for me, I needed another outlet. And that outlet for me was learning how to play the guitar. And so everything I did was around this. So I would go to work, bring my guitar with me.
Wow.
Going to my lunch break, I'm going back to the car, sitting in the hot Texas sun, learning how to, play, would come back sweating. And after a while, I got smart and stopped. And so I started going to the smoke room that was in the office. And so I would come back smelling like a chain smoker.
Yeah. It's funny because when I was growing up and obviously, passionate about learning how to play guitar, I didn't have YouTube. I didn't have any, I just like slow down the records and stuff like that.
That's why you guys are so much better than we are.
No. That's why it took a lot longer too. But it's super cool. And there is a story that's out there that I'm sure is true about the sort of magic and serendipity and coincidence and grace that led you from one spot in your life to another, which had to do with you while you're working at the bank, waiting for a friend who isn't there yet. You see some guys unloading some gear out of a van. That's a true story, I suspect.
Very, very true story, and one that I'm grateful for, and still to this day, just why me out of anyone, and just being in that particular moment. And that moment led me to...
Well, what happened exactly? So you just went up to the people and say, hey, are you dudes in a band, or what did you do?
Pretty much. Just like, I think in that moment of listening to that voice within me, and I told myself, like, everything around creativity, around music, that I'm going to let this voice, like, steer me. And these individuals were hauling guitars out of their van, and that voice was like, go find out what they're doing. And I was like, I don't know if I want to. This is a weird area. It was a neighborhood without the neighbor. So I've never said that before. All right, cool.
So it could have gone either way. They could have been stealing that stuff.
Exactly. I don't want to be,
Yeah, you're that guy.
I don't want to be complacent to robbery, But I went to go and see what they were doing, and they're like, hey, we're recording this guy named Leon Bridges. And they're like, can you sing? And I said, no, I cannot sing. I couldn't at this moment. Like, I wasn't singing, I was just playing guitar. And they're like, can you hum? Because we need as many different voices and timbre as possible. I was like, I think I can hum. And so they invited me to the session the next day. And I worked the longest shift that I've ever worked at the bank. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna go home. I'm tired. It's been a long day. And I'm heading home. And the exit that leads me to go towards my house was blocked. And so I'm like, all right. And guess what? The only way that I could go home was by going by where the studio was located. And so I go, I'm going there, I was like, you know what? I'm here. I might as well stop by. And that is how I found myself into the Coming Home sessions of Leon's first album. And it was in that moment that they say perception is reality. And before learning and trying to learn how to play the instrument, I didn't know what a studio was. I didn't know what it was like to try to record, what a mic is, like none of that. And so being in those sessions was such a unique way of connecting and bringing something out and helping someone bring something out of them.
I'll say.
Yeah, it was, it was surreal. And it was Leon that told me, like, dude, start writing songs and start doing open mics and see where it takes you. And it was that sort of voice. And
How does he like your new record?
he loves it. He's
right.
yeah. He loves it. He loves it. He loves
That's
it.
cool.
Yeah. And Gary Clark Jr., who is on the album, I met him because of Leon. And so I used to watch YouTube videos of Gary Clark Jr., and that's how I would learn how to play guitar. And Leon knew this. Yeah. And he invited me over to a session that he was doing 2 years after we met. And he goes, dude, come by the studio. I'm working on some stuff, would love some inspiration. And I was like, I don't know what inspiration you need from me. And so I get to the studio, same one, and standing in outside was this tall, slender man smoking a cigarette, and I lost it because I knew exactly who it was, and it was Gary.
Yeah, one of your heroes.
Yeah, and
that's cool.
It was amazing. It was.
Well, you know, the funny thing is, because you grew up in a Christian spiritual family, right? Yeah. Like this was an important part of your upbringing. And these songs you put together for this record are about these feelings, this experience, as you said, this cathartic way of processing love and grief and life in its many manifestations in your journey. And it feels like a blues record in a way because of the themes and because of the pain and because of what you're sharing. It feels also a little bit like a gospel record at certain moments because it's got that focus on spirit and the feelings. And then just when you're getting that vibe, here comes Mavis Staples to sing along with you. And, that's another one of those sort of like, what? And how did that happen? And I don't need to know all the details because we know and love Mavis and have had a chance to work with her. And but she makes everything, she lifts everything up.
She does.
Yeah. And so I think with those... that circle of friends that surround you, that have helped launch you. And literally, it's just like, couldn't be a bigger pivot from where you were to where you are now, really.
Absolutely. You know, for me, and I've always been this way, I don't hold my dreams with a closed fist. You know, I hold them with an open one because that's how you receive. And if you're holding on to them with the closed fist, it's like sand, it falls off.
Well, it's kind of like music, too. It's like the best way to make music with other people is to listen.
Absolutely.
And so if you've got an idea and an open mind and you're, cultivating your intuition and you're allowing yourself to be open to things like guys that might be stealing guitars out of the van, but maybe they're not. That looks like I think I will walk up to them and see what happens. I mean, that literally was the thing that changed everything for you. So yeah, I dig it. I understand. And I'm glad that you're able to do all this stuff and to process these feelings. And when you're writing songs now, is it a discipline you do every day? Is it a thing you wait for inspiration, or you just see what happens? Or
it's sort of a combination of both. You know, I try to be disciplined and write, but at the same time, it's like I care about what I write about, and there is the discipline of like, all right, a window, and I'm gonna try to give a bunch of similes and metaphors and what windows mean. And that is the extent of my writing.
Yeah.
And then I'll sort of let the inspiration come. And then the practice of describing the window sort of helps in describing the emotion and the feeling and the inspiration. And so, but this record just came out and I want to sit and enjoy it and play it. And, going on my very first headlining run coming this fall. And I just sort of want to dive into that and enjoy the process of what this journey has been.
Still kick a soccer ball from time to time?
I don't. Unfortunately, the risk versus reward is too high at this point. Yeah. I can't be playing for T-shirts no more.
All right. Well, listen, we're going to hear some more music. Welcome back, if you would, from now Fort Worth, Texas, Abraham Alexander.